the question you raised, should Brad and Angelina get a prenup? It's out in the news that they may be getting married. Their children want them to get married, and of course, the word on the street is they have much success, great wealth, many children, properties around the world. And this brings up the topic, what about people that live in various places? Where are they going to get divorced? Is it where they get married?
Well, there's all different kinds of factors that go into that. It's a complicated one, but what they can do in a prenup is decide what law is going to apply. Is it going to be California law that's very protective of community property and spouse support rights? Or is it going to be in another state that maybe doesn't even recognize community property or any spousal support, or has very strict limits on spouse support? So they can decide up front which law will control.
I think that's important because, for example, 9 states have community property. The rest of the states are equitable division jurisdictions where the court has a lot of discretion in how they divide property. So deciding in advance what law applies is critical. And for a couple like Brad and Angelina, where there's great wealth, it would be important for them to know what law applies. It would also be important to know whether they're going to divide their property equally or they're each going to keep their own. Also, there may be a disparity in income in the year prior to them getting divorced, so it might be important to have a limitation on how much spousal support will apply.
I think the biggest reason why a couple like this would want to have a premarital agreement is because of all of the projects that they're individually involved in. If without a premarital agreement, say if one of the parties, say Brad, makes a movie and it's a very successful movie, well, Angelina would have community property rights under California law in that movie and potentially in all sequels and other merchandising. I mean, it could go on and on and on. And so there would be an endless amount of litigation and trials over book deals, merchandise, sequel rights. And so a premarital agreement could say, hey, any movie that Brad does is going to be his separate property, and all related rights to that movie are also separate property.
In addition to agreeing on what divorce law would apply, they could agree on a judicial officer that would decide this privately. They could agree on arbitration. They could agree on the method they're going to resolve their dispute to take it out of the court system entirely. And that might be a good way for them to handle their matter.
Yeah, if they do get married, I'm sure that they're going to have a premarital agreement. It would be insane not to.